What is going on? I want to welcome you from half court. Jalen Duren is him. There's no way to no wasting time. Jalen Duren is him. He is special. My mind cannot wrap around the fact that multiple general managers had the opportunity to draft him and said, nah, I'm good. And the fact that the Charlotte Hornets had them in their hands and said, nah, I'm good. And then the New York Knicks had them in their hands. And even though I have Mitchell Robinson, they said, nah, I'm good. Hey, Troy Weaver, you want him? And he's just sitting there like licking his lips, just, yes, please give me him. And I'm sure that's exactly the energy he was feeling inside. I mean, we all know Troy Weaver's the assassin. He's cool, calm, collected. He feels absolutely calm inside. But, I mean, I'd be chomping at the bit if I was a general manager and a scout and I saw the potential that we're now seeing in Jalen Duren. Because as special as Jaden Ivey is, and mind you, Jaden Ivey also had a pretty great game despite the fact that he was struggling to shoot the ball. The shots that he made fell. Like when he had shots that fell, they were shots that mattered. But in addition, he also was able to make key assists. He also was able to actually start to do some work in the mid-range as well. He was 3 of 15. The 3 shots he hit were effective. And then he also was able to get to the line as well and make up for a lot of his work. And the 8 assists from him too. Like Jaden Ivey, there's still a lot to like, even when his shot isn't falling as well. And then Jalen Duren making up for the offensive woes for the rest of the team. He and Bojan Bogdanovic combining for 62 points. Obviously, we all know what Bojan could do. That's nothing different. But the way that Jalen Duren dominated this game, it was every facet. I mean, he had some assists that were really impressive. The passing potential that Jalen Duren has, he has some flashes where his passing looks awesome, man. But then you talk about as well the 4 blocks. If he can keep that up and continue to be a rim protector, we absolutely love that. But his will that he was forcing on the glass, 17 rebounds, 7 of them on the offensive glass, making second chances happen, forcing them into positions where they're really uncomfortable. Like, quite frankly, Zach Collins did everything that he could. Like, this team traded Jakob Poeltl yesterday, and it was pretty clear that they didn't have much of a solution to deal with the beast that is Jalen Duren. And granted, he could have just still had a normal game, but no, he maximized on that potential. He even said after post game, he felt like he was unstoppable. He just felt like he was in a rhythm and he was just going to town. And it's the fact that this performance happens in the midst of chaos for the Detroit Pistons. Because mind you, the day before, they trade away Saddiq Bey and acquire James Wiseman. And then as the game is beginning, Shams drops a bomb that the trade itself is in jeopardy because according to Shams Charania, Gary Payton II failed his physical with the Golden State Warriors. He is reportedly going to be getting a MRI or an X-ray, some form of scan. And then the Warriors have a decision to make by Saturday, essentially seeing how bad this abdominal injury that Peyton has, and they either have to decide to keep and maintain the trade or rescind it in its entirety and make all 4 teams return their assets. So Saddiq and Kevin Knox would come back to Detroit. James Wiseman, the number 2 overall pick in which the Warriors just gave up on, would have to go back to Golden State. I personally have no idea how likely this is to happen because on one hand, although the Warriors might want to make sure that they're not giving up assets, on the other hand, I think how much they like Gary Payton II and how much they want to have him in their system, I could see them trying to tolerate the injury and trying to deal with that so that they could have a healthy Gary Payton II the next season. But at the same time, they might want to see if they could potentially use an open roster spot or sign someone in the buyout market instead. And there might be some complications from a salary cap standpoint. What I know is the Warriors ultimately traded James Wiseman for the reason of doing a salary dump. That was the main reason for the trade. And yes, it was the salary dump so that they could go acquire, Gary Payton II. But I don't see a reality where the Golden State Warriors let James Wiseman come back into the facility. I could be totally wrong. And this could all, just be completely, void. But the fact that the Pistons have, for the second time in 13 months, a trade that could be voided that would benefit the team because of a failed physical. The Pistons, of course, tried to trade for Bull about a year ago. That unfortunately got rescinded due to his failed physical. Everyone was like, why didn't Troy keep him? Because he actually had a really bad injury, and it was a complete risk to have him on your roster. Luckily, that risk worked out really well for the Orlando Magic. And so that's why Troy Weaver instead went for Marvin Bagley. Now, it's not even James Wiseman who fails the physical. It's Gary Payton II. It's someone that doesn't even have anything to do with the Pistons franchise in the move that they made. It was essentially something that Golden State added on to the end of the deal. So, like, if you're Troy Weaver, you're like, well, I didn't ask you to go do that. Like, we made our trade. Like, our hands are clean. Like the deal's done. Like, there's got to be inherent frustration of, you got to be kidding me, man. Especially if Troy Weaver did have that belief in that, the fact that he could fortify that front line, but also how awkward it would be for Detroit to have to welcome back Saddiq Bey. Now, in the event that Saddiq Bey is brought back, I don't see a world where he's still kept beyond this season. Unless Saddiq goes nuclear to end the season, or assuming they even play him, if they brought him back, I almost wonder if he would almost immediately be in a trade package to begin the summer, and that would be something that they would start to pursue then. I don't know if they would go right for James Wiseman again at that time. I don't know if they would, in the offseason want to do, go in a different direction. But regardless of all of that, Troy Weaver can rest easy tonight, because no matter what, that guy has a future all-star in his front court already. Jalen Duren is 19 years old, and we've already seen multiple performances like these where you're just like, stop it. Like, how are you already dominating people like this? Like, it's not even fair. This isn't supposed to be the way this happens. And so I know a lot of people like, oh, well, how in the world would that even work? What would it even look like with Jalen Duren and James Wiseman? Well, you can't deny the fact that you have two explosive athletes who both, have raw physicality to them. Jalen Duren is way ahead of the process to James Wiseman right now. We can see this guy has inherent sense and knows how to play the game. Jalen Duren's NBA ready. He is. And for James Wiseman, we have no clue what his NBA floor is, especially in this system. So to see what these two could do together, and I know Troy Weaver cited, the Cleveland system, how they have bigs who are not perimeter based in their system, and they build around that, and there's a lot of success there. And listen, there's a lot of truth to that, especially, we talk about how this, a few years ago, we talked about the small ball era. Small ball's dead. Essentially, what killed small ball was 7-footers being able to shoot threes. Now you need to be big and be able to spread the floor. And you can still do that with having two big lineups. And you can also rotate and have different combinations and do different types of things. The ultimate point is, it's not a completely insane idea. And listen, again, it could totally not happen. However, one thing that could also totally not happen, but should absolutely terrify the rest of the league if it does, there is a possibility that the Detroit Pistons could have Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, and Victor Wembanyama. If a Jalen Duren, Victor Wembanyama front court exists, a good portion of the league is done diddly. And I don't mean that from a bias standpoint, but you talk about the potential interior dominance that they would be. The fact that Jalen Duren and Victor Wembanyama would be your rim protection, your back line, guys who could both switch on multiple positions. I mean, if I'm a aspiring general manager for the NBA, I'd find a new career. I'd do something else. I'd give up on that aspiration. The only way I keep going is if I somehow have an in with the Pistons where I could take that job after. That's the only way, because otherwise I would not want to have to even think about how to try and come up with a team to stop that. It just doesn't exist. At least not with the talent in the league we have right now. Like, there would have to be like 3 Wembanyamas on the way. But ultimately, the Pistons, despite a rocky, turbulent 72 hours, despite a trade deadline that brought a polarizing move that moved a fan favorite player in the midst of a restoration, there is still a lot of hope and a lot of reasons to like what you have in-house. You look at the talent that you have and the rookies that you have in this roster, the veterans that you have, and although this team did have the same winning percentage when Cade Cunningham was healthy, it was only healthy for 12 games, and none of those veterans that are there right now are in the lineup with him. Alec Burks would have made a huge difference alongside Cade Cunningham. But nonetheless, we'll be able to see what that looks like next year. These final stretch of games, keep feeding Jalen Duren, keep feeding the Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren chemistry, and keep letting that grow and thrive. That should be one of the focuses and priorities of this season. I would love to know what your thoughts were of his performance. How big of a Jalen Duren fan are you? Because personally, I bought all the stock that I could. I personally, if I could empty out my pockets, like I would go sell my pants to go buy more stock of Jalen Duren if I wouldn't get arrested for it. Seriously, man, the kid's special. But with that, I want to thank you all so much for listening. I'll catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure you subscribed.